Give me a minute. Yes. Hi, Folake. Hi, okay. Hi, Fedayo and Bukola and
Hi,
Phoebe.
Anita.
Hi, everyone. If you're happy and you know it, put emoji on the chat box. Thank you so much thank you so much for coming on board. How are our sessions going? I know most of us here now have had our second session already, or gearing up to have our second sessions, but I hope you're enjoying the process. The pitching will be coming up soon, so let's gear up towards that, and hopefully our winner is coming up from here. So thank you and thumbs up to everybody for showing up. We're expecting more of our startups to come in, and today will be our second skill session for the Found Her Accelerator program. And today we'll be talking about product ideation and development. And with us today is Yewande, which is a senior product manager with over 10 years of experience in the technology field. She has transformed, proof of concept into successful market Korea app called Just Take Away Eats into now, a very great app that is serving over 30,000 users across Europe. And she also excels in leading, cross-functional teams. And she has had experience as the product owner of Happy Car, and she has also had experience as a Windows category manager at Microsoft. So everybody, please put up emojis on our screen as we welcome Yewande to give us her insights on ideation and product development. Thank you so much, Yewande, for coming on board. I look forward to hearing all the nuggets that you have, and I know that our startups will benefit mostly from this. Thank you so much. And over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the welcome, Anita. And it's nice to meet you after the emails. Also Dorothy, because I get emails from you too. So nice to see you. I'm almost never able to join the winter session because of the time they're in. But I have been able to join a few ones. Okay, so hi ladies. I assume everyone here is a lady, as this is a session for female founders, right? Yeah, nice to meet you all. As Anita said, my name is Yewande. I am a senior products manager with Just Eat Takeaway. It's the biggest food tech company in Europe. It's also in the UK and in the US, so it's also Grubhub. It has different subsidiaries known with different names all around the world. And I have been working there for 4 years as a product manager. It is like a mix between a startup and an enterprise. And previously, before then, I used to work with Happy Car, just as Anita also said, which was a really small startup with less than 50 people. Just like we were about 8 tech people in there. Everybody else was customer service and management. So that was really good. I also had about a year and a half, almost 2 years, where I tried to have my own startup. I did have my startup, but yeah, kudos to you all because it was very difficult. And I was just like, yeah, I don't think I'm ready for this now. I don't think it's ready for me. And then before then, I worked up for about 4 years with Microsoft, where I was in charge of the launch of Windows 10 for Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa, which was a really interesting position. So yeah, I have been working in the tech space, building products, launching products, and then just everything with digital products generally. So really passionate about it. I also create YouTube videos about product management. And then I also talk about other things like the immigrant experience with via writing and also via YouTube. So yeah, so just mentioning some of the things I have done. So in case you have any questions around any of these, or even in the session, you can always stop me to ask. I really like that this is a small session, so we can make it as interactive as possible. I'm also looking forward to learning from you all. I think you ladies are doing amazing things. So yeah, be super excited about that. So I'm going to share my screen, and I also prepared for this to be an interactive session because for me, that's also how I learn. I don't really learn by people talking to me. I learn by doing. And I mostly join sessions where I know I would get value out of it. And I usually would get value when I can make it practical. So as much as possible, I will try to do this. So like I said, we're going to use the whiteboard session, the whiteboard in Zoom. So just in case you're in a place where you are unable to use it or you need to switch from your phone to your desktop, yeah, just preparing you ahead of time. Okay. So I am sharing my screen now. I'm just going to present. I'm used to Google Meet and not Zoom. Zoom is so weird for me. So can you all see my screen? Okay, so the
Yes.
title of thanks for that. The title for today is I wrote it PM. Writing product management was very long. So PM here means product management, not project management. So this is product management for non-product managers who have to do PM stuff. While I recognize that there's a whole career path called product management, it's the reality that as a startup founder, a lot of the things you'll be doing, you have many hats that you're wearing. It's going to be a combination of product management, business, project management. And I was just hoping we could do some of the things that you would do, some of the skills you would need to especially put your startup in the position where it's attractive for investors and is also very useful for the customers that are using it. Um, I'm hoping we can talk about it today. And really the focus is on the ideation process and the product development process. Product development process is very big. We can't complete it in an hour. I want to be respectful of your time. So we're really going to focus mostly on the ideation part, and I'll just touch a bit on the product development process itself. So I've spoken about myself, so I'm going to skip this now, this slide. So just to confirm, everyone is a startup founder. I put this slide in here in case it was a bigger session, but I think everyone is a startup founder, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So you need to raise up your hand. Is that fine? Or no?
Please raise up your hands, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Phoebe's hand raised.
Okay, I see some hands raised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Falake, hands raised. Okay, hands raised. So yeah. But I can confirm that they are all startup.
Okay, that's good to know. Just wanted to make sure I'm talking to the right people. So yeah, one of the things you can unmute or you can write this in the comment section is really, I have these 3 questions for you. What are your goals for your business? I know this is like a pitch program, so that's definitely one goal, but just generally for you, what are your goals for your business? I put it for 2024 because you could have 10, 20, 50-year goals if you want that. What are the goals you have for your business? What are your biggest pain points and your challenges? And then also from this session, what are your expectations? I'm just going to keep quiet a bit just to give you ladies at least a minute to either unmute or to type in here. So you can answer any of these questions or all 3 of these questions. What are your biggest pain points and challenges as a startup founder? What are your business goals? And then for this session, what are your biggest expectations, at least before knowing who was coming to talk and or who was coming to speak and just generally? Okay, I see that Phoebe Ilesomi has written in the comments here, which says TrashCon. She wants TrashCon to be a global name. Her pain point is scaling and funding, which is very interesting. Her expectation is to know more about being a product manager. Cool. Okay. Okay. Chrissy says, she wants to achieve product market fit in 2024, which means a steady revenue stream, and the pain point is also funding. Let me see if we get one more, then we can also move forward. Anybody else?
Okay, we need one more person. You can either unmute or put it in the chat section So please tell us about your pain points, or what are the goals for your business, your pain points, and your expectations from this session. One more person. We have Dayo, we have Kemisola, Monique. I'd love to hear you. Okay. Polake said EAO and the pain point is funding.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people's pain points are funded. Yeah, which is very direct and indirect. But yeah, I think this is very interesting. Thank you very much, everyone, for go increase subscriber and customer base, and then pain points is also funding. Go to figure out customer acquisition strategy. All right, so let's see which of these we can cover. Thank you very much for sharing. So okay, I'm gonna start with the product development process itself. It's a very big name, but it's hopefully we can simplify it as much as possible. From my point of view, it's very straightforward. And this is how so first of all, why I want to start, why exactly is this important to you, product development process? Why is knowing about product management or knowing product management terms important to you? I wanted this to be a discussion, but seeing as people are typing, you can also type in the comment section. But for me, I think one of the things, at least as a user and also as a product manager, like I said, you can also write in why this is important to you in the chat while I speak. I don't know if you've ever heard, I think most people here are Nigerian. If you ever heard, oh, we have too many fintech apps, or we have, yeah, one or somebody's making a comment and saying, why do I have to download this app from the App Store? I think the one that is very common is we have too many fintech apps, and a lot of people can subscribe to that. And if we're being honest, we actually don't have too many fintech apps. While I was preparing for this, I looked at the data. In Nigeria, we have about less than 200 banks. In America, they have over 4,000 banks, and they are still opening every day. In Germany, where I live, they have, I think, almost 1,500 banks actively in operation. The reason why it seems that we have too many fintech apps is because a lot of the apps that are being released, they don't have product market fit. It seems like they're just generic. You don't understand who they are for. You don't understand why they exist. You don't understand why they are doing the things that they're doing. And then it now feels like everybody's doing the same thing. So that's the thing. As a product founder, you want to avoid that your product is placed in that bucket where people are saying, why does this exist? I think that's one of the most painful comments you can get as a founder, when people are like, why are you building this? Like, why are you wasting your time? Right? I think for me, from my point of view, for you that you're on this call, it's very important for you to understand product market fit, the product development process, so that you can create a product that people would not say, why does this exist? That when people look at it automatically, even from the name, from how it works, people understand this is why this product exists and this is who it's for. So this is one of the reasons why I think the product development process is very important for you to know as a startup founder. You can hire a product manager eventually when you become big. But I think every startup founder should have product management skills and should have product management competencies so that you can guide and structure your company in the way it should be. You are the CEO of your own company, and you are the one that's going to determine if you're going to make a generic product that no one sees the reason why it exists, or a product that actually makes an impact in the lives of people that it is. So because it's one thing for your product to make an impact in the life of people that you have created it for, and it's one thing for them to know, and it's for it to be very obvious, right? So you want a product where it's differentiated, it's unique, and it doesn't have to be a very big deal. It's not about the colors. It's really about the strategic process of you taking the product from conception to the hands of the users. That whole process, if it's done in a specific way, would differentiate your product from everyone else. So that's why this is important. Let me see if like I said, Zoom is not my favorite product. Now I don't see the chat. All right, I don't think there are any chats. I'm just going to move forward. And if there's any reason why it's important to you, let me know. So now I've summarized the product development process here. I created this because I was searching online for a diagram and I saw a lot of wrong information on here. For most product development processes that you find online, they'll tell you when you have an idea, this is what you should start doing. Start the design thinking process. Start XYZ. And let me happily tell you, your product development does not start from an idea. That's the wrongest way to start a product, or that's the wrongest way to build a product, at least from a product management point of view. Your product should always start with a problem. If there is no problem you are solving, you are building the wrong thing. if you are starting from an idea, you are most probably building the wrong thing. See, ideas are a dime a dozen. Ideas exist all over the world, all around the world. Anybody can have an idea. And ideas are not necessarily good or bad. It's just what you apply them to. But the thing with a problem is that a problem exists. A problem is what people are feeling in your environment or all around the world. In your product development process, you always start with a problem. If you have an idea that you can't tie back to a problem, that is not a product. You are building a hobby. You are building art. This is one of the things that makes people build generic products because they're like, this is a good idea. This idea looks good. It seems good. It sounds good. But if you can't tie it back to and when I say problem, I mean a very specific problem, a problem that you give the person the person that is facing this problem, you give them this solution, and it's going to be very difficult for you to pull it away from them again. You download the app on your phone, you give it to them. For them to give you back your phone is a problem because you've created something that actually meets a need that they have. That's how you need to start thinking about whatever it is that you're building. Can you tie it back to a specific problem that you can't take it away from the people that have this problem? So that's number one. Always start with the problem. I'm going to move back. So we'll just run through the whole product development process. Like I said, I only prepared for us to look at the problem validation and ideation today because we have an interactive session. Please, if you can, use your laptop because I don't know how the whiteboard works on mobile devices. But hopefully this helps you here. So this is the product development process summarized. The first step is your product problem validation. This is where you identify a problem, understand the problem, and validate the problem. Very big words, but we're going to break it down. Second step is the ideation step. This is where now you've said, this is the problem I want to solve. This is a problem I have the capacity to solve. It's one thing to, there are a lot of problems as well. There's global hunger. A lot of people don't have the capacity to solve global hunger, but you might have the capacity to solve hunger in your community. So there's a difference. So you said this is the problem that I can solve. I have the capacity to solve, and I'm interested in solving it. Now, what are the ideas? What are the solutions we can create to solve this problem? After you've decided on this solution, you then go to the strategy steps. Strategy is now these are the very good ideas, but how are we going to break it down, right? So what are the extra costs on top of it? What are the people we need to hire to get this thing done? Do we need to have an office? Do we need to build something? Do we need to look at competitors? That's what all of this come under your strategy, not your ideation. After your strategy, you now have the delivery. Delivery is everything you need to do or they're going to do to build the solution. So whatever your solution is, digital, physical, everything is under delivery. Hiring people, they're actually building it. So this is where project management comes under delivery. Starting the project and ending it, everything comes under delivery. And after you've done the delivery, it's one thing for your product to be delivered. There are a lot of delivered products that they're sitting inside computers and servers somewhere or inside a storeroom. It's now you're launching. No product exists without it going out there to users. You need to launch your product and you need to monitor how it's being used. These are very important, but actually every single part of this process is important. If you get one of it wrong, it could actually skew the development of your product or skew the results you will get at the end of the day. So all of these 5 steps here is like the summarized and should I say condensed version of the product development process. For me, I really like to simplify things. It doesn't have to be difficult. I've seen like 12-step product development process. This can actually be shorter, but just to make it clear, this is basically what you need to know for your product development. Okay, moving on, we said always starts with a problem. Now let's look at problem itself. So I want to look at what's a problem and how do we identify the problems that we should be solving. This is very wordy, so just going to run through it. So basically, like I said, with product development, it starts with a problem, not an idea. There are lots of ideas in this world, but solving a present problem is very rare. Something with problems is that a lot of problems are connected to human behavior. Yes, I know that there's some products that are not human-centric, right? Especially when you're creating for like maybe construction. Yeah. If at the end of the day, every problem has to come back to a user, or I would say most problems have to come back to a user, because if you're building things that cannot be used by human beings, right, or that won't eventually touch the outcomes that will be built for people, then you are probably wasting your time. I say probably because nothing is absolute. You're probably wasting your time. And then problems can be greenfield and from an existing problem, or existing process. So you can look at an existing process and say, this can be improved. That's you solving a problem. Or you can look at something that doesn't even exist at all. That's what I mean by greenfield, and say, there's a problem in here and then we need to solve it. Understanding your problem will help you ideate and deliver properly. If you're not solving the problem, which is like the root of everything, if the roots already, or the foundation, sorry, if the foundation is faulty, whatever you're building is going to come down and collapse. And now, what are the things with the problem statement? These are just some tips with it. Whenever you figure out what your problem is, you need to articulate it in the problem statement. And what does this mean? Just write it out in a place that anybody can understand. If a 5-year-old does not understand your problem, you probably need to go back to it again. Like, I know that they're complex problems. So your problem and your solution, actually, they should be so simple that anybody understands what you're doing on a base level. If it's very vague, if you can't really explain it, then there's something missing in there. You haven't refined it properly, or you don't understand it properly. And that's one of the things too. Going back to the fintech example I gave, a lot of people say we have too many fintech apps. But then even the people that have created it, they can't articulate what exactly is it. Like, it needs to be very simple in basic English. That's one thing with problems. Another thing with problems is you need to understand who is this problem affecting. Nobody's going to build a product, digital or physical, that's going to be used by every single person in this world. The probability of that happening is very, very low, and it shouldn't even be, because there's like diversity of thoughts, diversity of knowledge. Who exactly is this who has this problem right now? It's fine if the problem is for you, but if you want to make money, it has to be more than you. You need to understand who exactly is feeling this, who's the shoe pinching right now. And you need to know how painful of a problem is it. Is this a survival problem? Is this a problem that is just nice to have? Yes, my AC is 24 degrees. If I can make it 20 degrees, that's fine, all well and good. But if it's not, I will still survive. Not manager, I will still survive. You need to understand how big of a problem is this. It helps you really look into the solution you're going to build. How painful of a problem is it? Then you need to understand the root cause and the complexity of this problem. There's a strategy that is usually used. They call it the 5 why strategy, which is you take a problem and then you say, you ask why 5 times, why this problem is happening. So an example is, let's look at recycling, right? So someone says people are not recycling their bottles in Lagos. The first question you ask is why, and then it's mostly, you can do it reflexively or you can do it interactive with someone else. Why is this, or like, why are people not recycling their bottles in Nigeria? Maybe it could be because they don't know. And you can have multiple streams too. They don't know they can recycle. That's number one. Why don't they know they can recycle? Because we haven't educated them properly that they can recycle. Why haven't we educated them properly? Right? Because we haven't created marketing budgets for this, or we don't have a marketing budget. Why don't we have a marketing budget for this? Because we spent all our funding in product development. I think I just mentioned, I lost track, 3 to 4 whys. That last part there, that's already now the root cause of your problem, or one of the root causes. So already, as you're going from one why to the other why, you're starting to find out what the problems or your potential problems could be. Because there are things called, I think they call them wicked problems, right? And it's kind of like a problem that has a problem that has a problem that has a problem inside it. It just feels like it's unsolvable. And while not everything is a wicked problem, some problems are hidden in actual things. So someone says, I'm cold. Your first instinct is to give the person a blanket. But what if the person is cold because they're sick? What if the person is cold because they have malaria or they have cancer? You give the person a blanket and then you distort the body problem of the body system of the person. Now they don't have the symptoms, but they have the sickness inside of them, right? So if you're solving problems on the surface level, or just taking problems on the surface level, you could actually be doing more harm than good. You actually need to dig deep and analyze what exactly is the problem and what are the causes of the problem. So when you completely dig deep, you can now find that, you know what, maybe your problem is not funding anyways, right? Maybe your problem is that your problem is hiring people. Hiring people and funding are 2 different things. There's so many people that run a lot on volunteer models in their businesses. So if for example, your actual problem is hiring people and you're talking about funding and you don't get the funding, you eventually miss out when you could have adjusted your business model to maybe have volunteers, or for you to have interns, for example. I don't even get what I mean. I'm giving different examples here from multiple sectors, because you can apply this to tech, or you can apply this to non-tech products. All of them are, they're all products eventually. And that's something I actually see. I didn't put the slide here, but as a business person, a lot of people make the misconception that they want to build a tech-enabled business. Before you put tech on your business, you already need to have a business. First of all, you need to have a business model, which is why a lot of tech principles, they don't survive independently. They actually survive with real life. If you're building something that doesn't have real life application, then you're going to get to a point where you get stuck, or you get to a point where you're going to plateau. Everything that you're building, there should be a real life problem that you're solving. Okay, back to this. Okay. Where am I? Use the 5 why strategy. So I think I've explained the 5 why strategy, where you need to break down your problem into multiple whys and because. When you get to 5, you can even go more than 5. Some problems you might not get up to 5. But it's very important for you to do this exercise with everything that you're building. We've spoken about who the problem is affecting, understand who they are, understand their personas, understand their motivations, understand their pain points. And it's very important for you to understand your audience motivations, because there's a difference between your customer and your user. Most of the time, the person that is paying for your product might not be the person that is using your product. So you need to understand the people that are using your product, why do they want to use your product, right? So these are the reasons why you need to understand the people, like I said, where the shoe is pinching, right? And then when you now get to the strategy part, you now understand, okay, this person that the shoe is pinching, cannot, this baby wants a toy, really, really wants a toy. The baby's problem in this life is that I want a toy. But the baby cannot go to the store to get a toy. So then you're marketing to the mothers and not the babies. So things like that is the reasons like this is because of why you need to really understand your users, and you need to understand it at this point where you're understanding the problem. Okay, so moving on from that, we need to look at your data, user behavior, forgive my spelling here, and then user feedback. So in every step here, you're looking at data. I didn't really go in depth into data on how you can use it. Also because of time. But you really need to look at data to see in here, what exactly is the problem. Another thing is that in as much as you need to understand people's problems by talking to them, looking at data helps you. So at work, for example, or I'll use a mix of hypothetical and real scenario. So there was this product that was being built, and the product was, we're telling you people to go and do like a delivery in a store, instead of like maybe like a DHL place. You tell you to go to like a ShopRite, for example, and drop your packages in there. I mean, just a few people were doing it. Like, first of all, everybody said, yeah, this is a problem I have. A store is closer to my house. I need to go there. And then we then did a test and said, okay, guys, now go to a store. And then people were not going to a store. And why were people not going to a store? You people say you wanted this. This is the problem you had. We understood the target audience. We understood everybody. We didn't know this thing until we started to look at the data. And we noticed that after we told them to go to the store, we tell them generate a QR code. There were 2 main reasons why people were not going to the store. Number 1, people generate QR code and then they'll forget about it. And then number 2, some people will generate QR code, but then you can't see, their phone screen is either cracked or it's not bright. So they get to the store and then they can't scan that QR code. So in as much as we created a solution to the problem, we didn't really look at the data to understand at what point were people falling out of it. And then what was the reason why they were falling out? The customers themselves, people using, they didn't even know why they were falling out, right? We had to look at the data to understand at what point did they stop pressing this button? At what point did they start again? At what, like, do you know what was the time when they actually did this thing? Were they doing this after closing hours? The point is, a lot of the time when you're looking at or trying to understand problems, you need to look at the data. And it can be such a very small, simple thing, but if you don't look at what the numbers are saying, you would actually miss it. Okay, so moving on from this, so what are the ways that you can identify problems, or how to find problems? Because yeah, there are problems everywhere, but there's also like a structured way you should also look at problems, or there are different ways you can look at problems. One is to understand, there's something called like a customer journey and empathy map. So this is where you take the customer, you actually draw it on the paper, and you say, this is when the customer starts, and this is when they achieve the goal they want to achieve. So let's look at recycling, for example. What our business wants, we want people to recycle bottles. So now where does this process actually start from? The process starts from the customer goes, they go to ShopRite, they buy a bottle of water. Step 2, when they buy the bottle of water, they drink it on the road. Step 3, they take the barely finished bottle of water back to their house. Step 4, this is what they do. They drop it on their table. Step 5, so you're looking at what's the journey from when the process starts to when the process ends for the user. That's a customer journey and empathy map. Empathy map is saying in this process, this is what they're feeling, this is what they're facing, these are difficulties in there. You can go as complex as possible, but you can keep it very simple. Just step by step, what are the steps that the user or the person I'm building this product for that we identified? What are the steps that they're going through to achieve a goal? And in all of these steps, is there anything that is painful for them, or is there anything that's problematic for them? You found the problem in here. You can do market research. You can do user research. Market research is knowing your competitors. Is there something that they're doing really well? Is there something that they're doing really bad? Like I said, data analysis is also part of it. Okay. So basically, one thing I want to emphasize is a shared understanding of your problem profits everyone. I know that sometimes there's a competitive mindset that we have where it's like you keep all your information to yourself. But when you're building something, you need to make sure everybody in your organization, or everybody around you, your investors, whoever it is that you're building for and that's working for you, understands your problem in a very simple way. It's like I said, a 5-year-old should be able to understand what it is you're doing and what it is you're solving for. So these are some examples of how you can write problems, writing the problem statement, and a lot of these things are recommended. I would say globally recommended. You can write your problem from the point of view of an audience. So I put an example here for a blind person, right? For a blind person, I want to read a book so I can get into university. You can write it from the point of view of your audience. So you're putting yourself in their shoes and saying, because I'm this, I want to do X, Y, Z. And why do I want to do it? So there are 3 different parts in here. The person, what they want to do, and then why they want to do it. There's also like the how might we format. It says, how might we help blind people read books? So from you as a business owner, you're trying to say, how might we, or how might I help you? Or how might I do X, Y, Z? There's also like a SMART method, which is saying, we know about SMART goals. You want your targets, it's measurable, it's reachable, right? So the example here, we want 1,000 blind people in Lagos to read 2 pages of a book by XYZ. Then there's this and so, right? Blind people are unable to read and so they can't get invested. So this is showing you the impact of your problems. So you can also combine multiple ways to write a problem, but these are some of the ways that it's been seen that people understand when they see a problem in here with a problem statement. Okay, so moving forward very quickly is, I think I've mentioned this, is that ideas that solve a problem make a very big impact. So I'm just going to pause now. If there's anybody that has a question now about the problem part, have you applied any of these to kind of like come up with your product or with your business idea? For example, is there any method that you have used and has worked for you in the past? Have you had any issues with, coming up with problems that people actually understand for your startup? So let's see. Let me see if people are actually here.
Yeah, so you feel free to unmute your mic or raise your hand up and then unmute, or you could drop your answers in the chat section if you've used any of these patterns before. Strategy. Please remember that this is an interactive session, everyone. Okay, Folake.
Can you please repeat the question again?
Yeah, so I was asking, one, are there any questions, for example, about the problem part? Have you applied any of this to kind of like showcasing the problem you're solving? Have you had any issues with creating, like understanding the problems that your users are facing with the products you're building or in your startup? So multiple questions just to understand this part of problem and problem solving and problem verification.
I think in my organization, we've tried like the point of view of the audience in terms of doing customer discovery conversations, and what they want, what their pain points are, and then how might we also looking at how can we solve either problems of getting people healthier, staying healthier, affording their healthcare. Yeah. So, and then the and so part.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
All right, Phoebe had a hand raised up. Phoebe, you could unmute now.
Okay, from my point of view and from what we have built and what we're trying to scale, most times when we get to talk about our problems and okay, this is the solution. Okay, I'm in the recycling space, people would get to tell you, oh, so why should I download your app? So because we have a software, okay, from this app you're able to get incentivized for recycling. Why can't you just give me the money? They just make you kind of feel, let me permit me to use the word stupid. Like, I built this app to just help you because there are different benefits you can get using this app, while we encouraging you to have the whole behavioral change and promoting this thing in the society. But people just, I don't understand. Like, sometimes it's weakening because they're like, oh, if you're incentivizing me for recycling, for giving my pet bottles and the rest, why can't you just give me the money in my hand? And in my head, I'm like, how do we now generate data? How can we now tell potential investors that this is what we have done? These are the people, the statistics, and the rest. So sometimes the ones that are willing to help you grow your business, they're patient with you to see what you're able to like deliver. While the rest of them, they're like, okay, but we just try to explain to them and calm them down and be like, we're trying to provide solution for everyone.
That's a good point, and well done with the recycling. I know recycling is not easy. I had like extended experience in there, but I would say I think for you that's kind of like because we know that there's a recycling generally is a whole thing, right? And then I'll think about it from a solution point of view. If people are saying, give them like people are saying they don't the whole process of downloading an app and all of that is very stressful. I think there's something there that you can look at because there's something that we usually do or something that I had to unlearn myself as a product person is that sometimes we have fantastic solutions, but those solutions might not be right for the audience. It might be an amazing idea, but either the market is not ready for it or the kind of users you're targeting and not the it's just not there's no so like I would say user solution fit. It's still the same thing as like product market fit, but that could be one of the things here. Because I'll like give you an example, right? So I know like this is something you probably thought of as this is your industry. But I live in Germany and then there's a big culture of recycling here. And why is there a big culture of recycling? People are like, how do you recycle? You take your bottles to the store and then you technically almost get money back. You get like a paper, then you then take to the store and use to buy something. And if you're not buying anything, then they give you your money back. Very, very straight to the point. No one is
Yeah, one day. Sorry to cut you short because the founder of Trashco, I'm a co-founder, actually generated or got this idea from Germany. He's based there currently. And we just said, okay, let's bring this to Nigeria and see how this works. And so far, so good. We have the data and all, but there's just some people we're trying to say, oh, this is the solution. This can help you. You can have access to health insurance using our app. You can have access to your money, to your cable TV subscription, data, airtime, and lots more. But the people that are patient, like, oh yeah, this can be like a passive income for me to save money from just my waste alone. Why will I even have to break the bank? I'm able to take these bottles back and get rewarded. But some people, I don't know if I should use the word, maybe they are not too enlightened to see the bigger picture. They just make it a bit stressful for people.
Yeah. So no, I totally get your point. And I think this conversation can go on and on. So I think I was emphasizing the Germany solution because from my point of view, I don't think that's a solution that you can immediately apply to Nigeria without changing it a bit. Because the problem we have in Nigeria with recycling and dirt is a little bit different from the problem that it's in here. So this is where you now need to understand the audience itself and what is their biggest pain point, right, when it comes to recycling. So I think those are like the two things that you need to consider because recycling here, it's already like a culture and there's already like a mindset. So when a solution is being thought about and looking at the people go grocery shopping a lot on Saturdays, right? Because Sundays, all the stores are closed. So there's already a culture because it's like you're going to go to the store anyways. So you might as well take your bottle. So this is where the two things are being under, like, I think for you, what I would recommend is, I know that you already have a solution, but still try to understand the main problem with recycling and with PET bottles, for example, that your audience, the people you're targeting are going through. For a lot of them, it might be things like, sorry, I have someone at the door. Okay, not really. Yeah, for your audiences, so just to give you an example, for an audience like in Lagos, it could be the main motivation for them might not be health insurance, it could be waste cleaning. That's something that could motivate them a bit more if you really understand the problem that they're facing. So just to think about it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to move on and then we can kind of like continue this conversation just so that there's time, especially with the solution part, because we've only spoken about the problem. Sorry, let me get this. There's someone at my door and I will be right back.
Hi everyone, so if you're enjoying this session so far, please put an emoji on your screen and please remember that it's an interactive session and we'll be using the whiteboard soon. So please, if you're using your phone, switch to your desktops or laptops so that you could, use the whiteboard as well. And again, okay, Yolanda is back. Okay, while she comes back, I would like to remind everyone, if you've had just one session, please reach out to your coach to, catch up with your sessions because it's paramount before the pitching that will be coming up on the 19th. So, please make sure you finish up your second session by the end of this week or at least early next week. All right, back to you, Rande.
Yeah, my apologies for that. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so moving on to the part about solution, ideation. So like I said, we're only focusing on two parts today, which is the problem, trying to understand the problem and trying to understand the solution. And I think this might help you, Phoebe, a bit with your idea or with your product. So what's the ideation process itself? The ideation process itself is you trying to find out innovative ideas or just ideas basically to the identified problem. So now you've identified a problem that your audience has, right? You now want to find out how can we solve these problems for them. A lot of the time is you think like, for what I find and also from my experience is that we all think that, you understand the problem, this has to be the solution for it. But from my experience, it's almost never that straightforward. There usually is a structured process where you should find the ideation, the ideas, sorry, and then test the ideas. So, like I said, I really think that with your example with trash coin, this we could use this if you want. I had a different idea. We could use this. But usually when you understand your audience, you understand the people you work with, you understand what it is you're trying to solve for, then the ideation process helps you. And then this is the structured approach here. So one of the first step you should do with the ideation process is the process of brainstorming. So brainstorming the solution. Then we have what we call divergent thinking. This is mostly it's mostly added to the brainstorming session. It's based on how you do this with the brainstorming in most cases. After the divergent thinking is then the convergent thinking. So this is where you're bringing all the ideas together that you brought in these two processes up here. Then you have your prototype and then you have your testing. All of this together is what you do during the ideation session before you start to create a strategy. The ideation session is where you understand this is the solution and this is the right solution. Like I said, there are multiple solutions to a problem. There are multiple approaches to doing something, but usually there's one approach that's right for you based on your audience, based on your capacity, based on your location. These are all of the things you're going to be looking at based on also like your developers, for example. These are the things you'll be looking at in this ideation process. So moving into it very quickly, there is, so this is where we might need to use the whiteboard. The brainstorming process, it's very, very simple, just as we know it. This is you coming with your team members or people you work with, or, it could even be your friends. And everybody is doing what we call a brain dump, putting multiple ideas in one place. Sorry, give me a minute again.
Okay, everyone. I hope we're all ready with our whiteboards. Dora, are you ready with your whiteboard? Okay.
I am so sorry, ladies. Today I have a couple of interruptions. Okay, so this is the brainstorm session. I'm just going to explain it. So like I said, it's usually combined with the divergent thinking. And what does divergent thinking mean? It means that coming up with multiple ideas as wide as possible, right? Divergence is just spreading it out. You have a problem where everyone is focused on, but then the solutions that you come up with for this problem is as wide and as diverse as possible. Then the convergent process is now you now trying to streamline all of these ideas you've gotten, all of these solutions that you've gotten together. So, and then usually how is the brainstorm process done? Especially when you're doing it in a structured way, you use either sticky notes, your pen and your paper. If you have people in the room with you physically, make sure you explain the rules of the brainstorm session. For example, so these are the tools you're going to need. For example, this is how much time you have. You have 5 minutes. This is the question that you're going to do. Spend 1 minute, spend 30 seconds on a question. And usually there are different ways you can do the brainstorm session. There's like the rapid prototyping. There is like, sometimes you just have 30 seconds, write something. This is the problem that you have. And this is what you're going to write in 30 seconds. Then if you're working online and you have people that's not in the same room with you, you can use tools like Miro. I saw today that Canva already has a whiteboard session or whiteboard tool that they've already added. You can use Miro, you can use Figma. I usually recommend Miro because there's a free version and there are templates on there you can use. You can just dump all your ideas in there. Very important for a brainstorm session is there should be no judgment of ideas. You shouldn't tell anyone they have a bad idea. It should be a safe and open space for everyone to bring in their ideas and contribute to the task at hand. Ideally, there should be like an icebreaker activity. You also need to make sure it's time blocked. There should be a time limit and the amount of time for the whole session itself, and also for if you have multiple questions, you want everyone to put in the answers for each of the questions in multiple time blocks. So time limits, time blocks work with it. And then after people have written down their ideas, you need to give time for people to talk about and share their ideas so that there's a shared understanding. Because it's one thing for people to write down their ideas, it's another thing for everyone to understand it. And this is where people fail a lot in brainstorm sessions. They don't leave a lot of time for people to write their ideas and for people to explain their ideas. So people need to explain their ideas and talk about it. So yeah, this is where I wanted us to kind of like try this together. So this is kind of like applying divergent thinking and brainstorming, where we have a question here. So this is, how can we make Lagos public transport more accessible for blind people? So these are kind of like the case study questions that you get as a product manager, because in real life, you are applying some of these questions to what it is you're doing. You just have this very specific and very niche situation and you need to find ideas to it. It's never recommended for you to do it by yourself. Even though if you don't have a choice, then you can do it by yourself. But it's always good when you have people with a diversity of thoughts, diversity of location, and diversity of ideas doing this. So yeah, this is where we share the whiteboard, and this is our problem. How can we make Lagos public transport accessible for blind people? Let's try to do this in 3 minutes. Just write in as many ideas as you can with what, how it can be accessible and specifically for transport system. And then we're going to very quickly share or talk about some of the ideas we have, and then we converge it together and then prioritize the solution we're going to build. Does this make sense for everyone?
Yes.
Awesome. So should I start the whiteboard from my end?
I believe so.
Okay.
Well, I think I have to start it.
Yeah, I was trying to look for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks. So ideally, everyone should have access to this. It says I'm
Yes,
co-editing.
I think so.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the question. So I'm just gonna, so this is a sticky note here. And you can just duplicate it. I think there are 9 of us in here.
I think we should write the question here
Yeah.
so everybody can see it. And I'm sorry, did we lose the whiteboard?
Yeah, it looks like I don't see it on my end.
Okay, it's back.
Okay, Anita, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I'm having network issues and it keeps going on and off. So I'm going to make you the host now so I'll be able to
Okay.
create the whiteboard.
All right. All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna write the question again.
You can create one now.
Is everyone able to access the board?
I think so. Please, if you can't access the board, put it on the chat section.
Okay, I've written the question in here now. So we have 3 minutes starting now for everyone to put in their ideas in the board.
This is the fastest 3 minutes I've ever had in my life.
That's good to know. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to stop it now. And yeah, thank you very much for participating. Someone is asking, can we write it in the chat? I'm just going to put it here. That's it here. Okay, so I really like that everyone was participating. So I'm just going to talk from here. So we have different ideas, and I think they're actually amazing ideas in here. So I just want to point out that a brainstorm process, like usually when we think about brainstorm process, it's always seen as, just one of the things you can do. But when it's done really well, it has a way of stimulating your psychological processes where you're thinking about new ideas. That's number one. And then number two, there's no monopoly of ideas. Everybody has different experiences. So when you have a group like this and you have a session here, right? Everyone brings in so many ideas that even if you're a solo startup founder, just by looking at this, you're already starting to think about so many things. It's firing up your neural responses to say that, okay, so many things are possible. So like for me now, I wrote traffic lights with sound, right? Someone might be say, maybe that doesn't work so well, but said have a transport line and pick up space for them, right? Reserved seats for blind people in the bus, have special needs assistants, dedicated seats. So do you get? So I think for me, as much as possible, try to incorporate brainstorm sessions with people where you just have a board. Everyone, there's a time limit. The time limit helps you to go very fast and just write it as it comes to your head. And then everyone brings it together. So now we're going to look at the convergence process, which is where you're going to, let me change my cursor and just show you how it's going to work. You're going to now group the different similar ideas together. So because we're all different people, sometimes we're thinking in a similar way. So here on the green sticky notes, we have dedicated seats at the front of the bus for blind people, right? That's very similar to create a reserved seat for the blind. So I'm going to move it here. This is me converging different ideas together. So what else do we have? We have mandatory training programs. Another thing with brainstorm session, try to ensure that you have one sticky note in one point in one sticky note so that you can easily converge the ideas. Because yeah, this is one of the issues when they're all together, when you just write it in bullet points. Right. So we have transport line and space for them. Mandatory, we have voice assistance, real-time updates. This is very similar to traffic lights with sound, with voice assistance. So we bring it together here. Have a dedicated app that lets them know the timing and route of the bus. That's also amazing. So that, I would say that should be like an independent idea. Okay, coming down here, create a safe sidewalks with audio cue and braille for street signs. So we're converging that with signage in braille. So these two ideas are similar here. So I'm going to move, oops. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to move it up here. So in total, we were able to come up with this together is 1. This is another, this number 2, transport line and pickup space for them. This number 3, dedicated app to help them know the timing. Number 4, with the voice assistant. And then number 5, reserved seats for blind people. So we now have 5 different ideas in here. So what's the next step of what you're going to do? You're not just going to leave it here. Now, ideally, the audience for your brainstorm session has people you have people with different skill level. If you're building something for the blind, you should at least have a blind person in there, which is where we have inclusivity. You should have at least a blind person in there. You should have someone that can build for blind people because it's not necessarily going to be the same people, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call a prioritization method. Prioritization can be with different factors. In most technical, you're looking at how much time sometimes you're looking at how much time is it going to take to build something. You're also looking at when do we need to build it? When is our deadline, right? There are different factors you're going to use for prioritization. The most popular for people that build in tech is called the impact versus effort matrix. So how does that work? It's just like a line we have here, right? I'm just going to do 2 different lines. At the top of this line here, we have the impact. So everything that's high impact, you're going to write it here. And then the effort is, if it's going to be high effort, you're going to write it here. So how this works is that now as a team, you guys are going to determine out of these 5 ideas, there has to be a number 1. And it's not number 1 because it's the best idea. It's going to be number one because we have said it's going to be the highest impact with the lowest effort. That's always going to be your number one idea that you're going to build, right? Highest impact, lowest effort is your number one idea. So you're going to scale these things up, right? So we're going to organize all of these ideas to say, oh, signage in the Braille guards, signage in Braille on all the hand railings. How long is it going to take us to build this? That's with the efforts. And what's the impact? If a blind person is in the room and you ask them, if we put a signage in Braille for you, how is that going to help you access public transport in Nigeria? Based on the answer, we're now going to put this either high impact and low effort, for example, or mid impact, low effort. Now, this does not have to be super accurate, right? This is just to help you prioritize so you know which idea to focus on. And this also helps to make sure that because a lot of us have worked in organizations where is the person, they call the HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion. Usually in a lot of organizations, those are the person's ideas we go for. The person that has the biggest position, whatever they say we should do, that's what we do. But if you accurately identify the impact versus the effort, and you organize these ideas based on them, right? To say we're going to build the ones that's going to take us the lowest effort and highest impact, it eliminates the fact that we're going to go with the Oga's idea, or we're going to go with the leader's idea. We're going to go with the idea that we can build first or that we can test first. I hope this makes sense for everybody. I'm not going to do it for the whole thing, but just giving you the idea behind it. Does this make sense? I'll take silence as a yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm going to go share my slides back. I'm just going to share my screen on top of this. And
should I close up the whiteboard?
yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. So back to sharing my screen. So yeah, we've done the brainstorm process already and we did it together. One thing I want to mention here is our brains are not really designed to keep ideas. Our brains are not designed to keep ideas. One thing our brains are designed for is to have ideas. Your brain is like your creative epic center. Your brain is designed to have ideas. But I think it's even less than 10, 20 minutes. Like when you have an idea and you don't write it down, you're going to forget it. It's almost scientifically proven, or it is scientifically proven. I just don't know the time frame. So as much as possible, when you have ideas, ensure you write it down. Now I'm going to run through because we're way out of time. So this is the convergence process, which I just showed you on the whiteboard. Like I said, ideas are grouped together based on similarities. We also organize the best ideas or prioritize the best ideas based on criteria like feasibility, your impact, your cost, your time. And then when your top ideas are selected on, then you move on to strategize the ideas. So this is something that I recommend that you do with multiple people from different backgrounds, people from different places, having your friends. And then just some points to know in here, like you prioritize different ideas. One very important thing is when you're building, a lot of the ideas you came up with in your brainstorm process would feed into your roadmap. So a roadmap is a list of things that you're going to be building, just to keep it as simple as possible. As a founder or as a product person, you always need to have a roadmap and a backlog. This is a list of like your wish list of what all the things that I want to build in my product. And your roadmap, one of the mistakes people make with their roadmap is they say, I want my roadmap to have login. I want my roadmap to have what else? I want to have a profile page. That's not how your roadmap is to be built. Roadmap building is a whole like course on its own. Your roadmap should contain the value you are giving the users. So what does this mean? Your roadmap should show that now I want to allow users to do XYZ, not to log in. I want them to, like, for example, I want them to use Braille, or I want my users to be able to, let me think of a good idea. I want my users to be able to go up the stairs seamlessly. My point is, I didn't write down ideas before now. My point is what your roadmap should contain should be the value you are trying to provide to the users, not a wish list of things that you just tick off. And when you create them, it doesn't add any value to your users. And how do you know you're adding value to your users? It's based on your measurements and your KPIs. So we call them metrics and KPIs, but really you can talk about it like measurements and KPIs. Anything you put on your roadmap, you should be able to measure. As product people, you don't build what you cannot measure, except it's like a bug or, just something very technical. What you cannot measure, you don't build. It's not going to give you any impact as long as even, and no matter how good the idea is, if you cannot measure it and how it's going to help you achieve a specific goal that you want to achieve, either with revenue or either with scaling up, you don't build it as a product person. So let me move on from here. I need you, if you're very interested in brainstorm and facilitating workshops and brainstorm process, there's this concept called liberating structures. You can just Google it. There's a list of like 32 different ways you can do like brainstorming and idea generation in itself. I didn't want to go into it. I wanted us to try just the simplest, which is brainstorming, but there are different ways. There's a consulting method. There is the 1, 2, 4. There's so many. I wrote the 1, 2, 4 all in here. There's so many methods in here that you can use to generate ideas, or you can use to facilitate workshops to generate ideas. After your brainstorming session, you need to create an outcome document. It's very important that you have a source of truth that you can refer to eventually if a new person comes, or if you need to scale up the idea. You want to know, okay, we had a bad idea. Where did this come from? Then you trace it back to the brainstorm session. Maybe the problem you're facing, you didn't look at the right problem. You need to involve technical people in the process. One of the outcomes of this is having wireframes, MVPs. You need to test, you need to create a hypothesis. And then I put design thinking here because what we actually have just done is a design thinking process. Starting with the problem itself, that's literally like the first step of the design thinking process. Then moving to the ideation where we did this on the whiteboard. And now the last step, which is going to be the prototype, which is the last part I'm going to move to. So now you need to do test prototypes. So what are different ways you can test prototypes? You can do quick sketches on paper. You can do physical or digital designs. One thing some people do is called dummy websites. So what they do is that, so all your users have been saying, oh, we want an app, we want XYZ. You create like what do you call it? You create like a button on your website and you see how many people actually click on that button. Because users say something, but they don't do exactly what they say. So one thing I also want to tell you is that you, as a product person, also like a founder, you don't collect solutions or ideas from your customers. Your customers are the experts in their problems. They are not the experts in the solution. You as a founder or you as a product person is the expert in the solution. So you need to understand the problem in depth with the users. So now this is now me coming back to you, Phoebe. What you are discussing when people say, oh, this app is useless to me, right? Or I don't want to use this app. But that's because you're discussing solutions with your users. You discuss what is the problem for you with bottles in the house. If your users actually have a problem with bottles or PET bottles in their house being overrun, they would ask for that app, right? It's because you haven't asked them what their problem is, but you have just taken the solution that works somewhere else, right? From somewhere else, and it works. But when you talk to them, like, okay, now this app does not work for you. What is your problem with bottles? You'll find that most people, when they think about it, they're like, my problem is that they don't have a problem with making money from bottles. That's not an actual problem. It's a nice to have. But somebody that lives beside a canal and you ask them, what's your problem? They will tell you what their problem is. Do you get what I mean? So those kind of people, you're not going to build an app for them. When you understand the problem, you now know that, okay, maybe how they'll make money is me saying that, bring your bottle and I will pay to clean this canal. You will see how people will rush you. Do you get? So my point is, and it could also be wrong. You validate your ideas, you test it and you move on. But talking to users about the solution, it's always a recipe for, I like this, I don't like this. So testing prototypes, you look at it, you give them the dummy for them to use and see how they use it. Most of the time, they don't use this as they say they will. We have contextual inquiry, which is you looking at how they use the product itself. So you just go to a room, see how they're using your app, and you keep quiet. You don't say anything. They will trash your app, they will trash your product, they'll use it in a certain way. I don't know, there was a meme that was going, that I saw on Instagram where someone went to an ice cream shop and they gave him an ice cream on a cone, and the guy grabbed the ice cream from the top and the cone was like, the ice cream was in his hand and then the cone was at the top. And someone says, you create a perfect product for your users and how they use it is completely different from what they say or how human beings usually use it. We have a thing we always say on my team. the product I build is for restaurant owners and delivery drivers, right? Which are they're very rich people, especially here in Europe, very rich people. But we build it for them. We always say these are simple people. If they cannot understand this solution in less than a minute, we're starting again from the scratch. Because we found out that these people, they don't have time. They don't want to be on their computers. People don't want to learn new things. So you need to think about your users like their children. If a child cannot use your product, you need to go back to the drawing board and say, how can we make it that people don't have to think to use this product? It's when you start thinking about it in that way, and that you do that with contextual inquiry, that's when you start to build products that people actually, you don't even realize that sometimes when you use TikTok, you don't realize you spend 1 hour on there. The app, you don't look at the design. Nobody's asking you what's your problem or what's the solution. And even if TikTok should ask you, can we use this app? You give them a 1 star, but you're using it. Like that's the thing. So users will not give you feedback you can really use for the solution. It's really about their problem. Okay. Now moving on here, I think dummy website, surveys and interview. You always need to have surveys and interviews because you need to be in constant communication with the users. But like I said, ask for their problems, not the solution. All the time. Ask for their problems, not the solution. Moving. So now these are just like a laundry list for your ideation process that you need to have. You need to be open-minded and encourage divergent thinking. It was studied that when teams have like diverse people on there, so like teams here, when they have Black people, you have women, you have, so many people on there, you have the best idea. Someone mentioned that if the Uber design team, for example, thought about the fact that women don't want to go to people's houses at night, women don't want a stranger driving them, they would have probably designed the Uber app a little bit differently. And these are things that people are working on to design better products. So you need to have diverse people that you don't like, bring them on board. They could have the best ideas. Make sure you don't do this process by yourself. So that's one. What should you have? Like I said, be collaborative. Make sure it's in a safe environment. People are comfortable. People are happy. They're able to give their ideas. It should not be by force. Give yourself time to prepare. There's a grammatical error or typo. You need to really prepare the process because when I did prepare, I knew that we're going to go a bit over time, but I'm going to go a little bit faster now. Be human-centric. A lot of people think about ideas like robots or this is the ideal idea because it works in another place. African ideas don't work the same way in Europe. I can tell you for free. Even with Windows 10 as a global product, we had to customize it. We had to request to customize it for Africa. Like it just doesn't work the same way. So you need to, when you take ideas, you need to adapt it to the environment and you need to think like the human beings that are going to use the product. If you're creating a product for a market woman, she's not going to use it the same way a office savvy person would use it, even though there's an ideal way. So that's how you need to think about it. The greatest ideas are in the mundane things, document everything. A good idea does not mean a practical idea. That's a different topic completely. So that's a good idea does not mean it's practical. Don't skip experimenting and then focus on the user and not yourself. So now, like I said, we've just done a combination of brainstorming and design thinking. That's how most great tech ideas came to life. It never comes to life in the first place. It's an iterative process. So well done and thanks for participating. I'm going to skip this part. This was for if we have time. Like I mentioned about metrics and key performance indicators. Just to know the difference between both of them. If you have investors, they're asking about this. Anything that can be measured is a metric. And then the things that can be measured that are contributing to your goals are your KPIs. That's it on a basic level. You should always be looking at things like your website traffic, your customer satisfaction score. We have things called like vanity metrics and your main metrics. You need to know the difference between both of them, else everybody's deceiving themselves. And then I think this is going to be my last slide is, if you want to build a delightful product, you need to build something that's solving a pressing problem. That's number one. It needs to be so easy, a 5-year-old can use it. And then number 3, you need to continually improve. So this was what I was going to talk about with the delivery process. I've spoken about this too. You need to always no good product is static. You would always change things. You always, make iteration even to the things that you like. So get ready for this. And this is for both digital and physical products. So yeah. And then my last point to everyone is the successful startups are the ones that have started. Get something out there and get it out now. So you can spend a lot of time brainstorming, make sure you have like a cut of time, put something out there, see how it works. It fails, ask for the problem, come back, create a solution, go back, ask for the problem, come back. So yeah, that's going to be the end of my session today. If you have any questions, let me know. but this is how you can contact me. And I'm mostly active on YouTube and LinkedIn. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yewande, for that insightful session. Everyone, please, if you enjoyed this session, let's see your clapping emojis on your screen. Let's see them on the chat section. Thank you. It was really insightful. My favorite part was the whiteboarding session, and you called my idea the best. So I'm not even going to go deep into that. So thank you so much. We have Yewande's LinkedIn link on the chat box, so please do to follow her on LinkedIn and show her appreciation and follow up with what she's doing. Again, thank you, Yewande, for coming on board. I know our startups have benefited from this. I did too. So everyone, before we go, how we do it is our photo time. So please, if you want to be part of the pictures that we're going to take here, please turn on your video. I'd love to see your beautiful faces. But if you're not comfortable with that, that's also cool. So, Kemisola, you're ready. You look so beautiful. You just turned it on. Your camera ready. That's fine. All right. So I'll be taking the pictures in a minute. Hi, Folake. Hi, Fabian. We okay, camera ready today. Okay, so in a couple of minutes, let's say cheese. Say cheese. Okay. I'm going to go again one more time for good luck. Say cheese. All right, thank you so much. For our startups, our next soft skills training will be coming on the 14th. So please get ready for that. And your pitching will be coming up on the 19th. So I hope we're all prepping. Don't forget to please have your catch-up sessions with your coaches. And with that, I'll say have a lovely weekend, everyone. And goodbye. Thank you, Yewande. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.